the more help Nigel can give, the better. And he's got a big decision to make. Obviously, the clock is ticking, but it looks like after this week that the odds on a summer election are receding. And look, Nigel, when he's able to make and ready to make a decision as to what he wants to do, he'll make it. And the more help he can give us, the better.
How much of a political force is the Reform Party in reality? And is their goal just to damage the Tories, or is it to actually try and win? So we're joined now by Reform leader Richard Tice. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Kate. And I'm sorry to correct you, but actually we did remove 2 Tory councillors down in Havant, including the leader of the Tory council down there.
Yeah, it's not so much that you're removing Tories. What I said was that you're not winning councils, and that's the big question, I suppose. And that's really, you struck at the, if you let me finish, you struck at the heart of the point, really, which is that is Reform in existence to damage the Conservative Party, or are you actually really trying to win? Because at the moment, on that second count, you're not doing very well.
Completely the opposite. We've always said that our focus is the general election, that we're standing everywhere. And as a fast-growing but small party, Rome's not built in a day. We didn't try and stand 2,600 councillors, and also we had other focus. We obviously had the by-election in Blackpool South, where we almost pipped the Tories into second place. We got our record highest performance ever in a by-election. Yesterday, we got our first GLA member, Assembly member elected, so that's more good news. And look, this is lots of people think this is a sort of a one-election pressure group. It's not. This is a medium-term plan to reshape British politics, to reshape the right of politics, and we're well on the way to achieving that.
Let's just stick to the facts. I think net, you were actually down 1 councillor, weren't you, nationwide?
And as I say, the focus for us is on the
parliamentary... No, I'm just trying to establish the facts. Net, you were down 1 councillor, and you didn't come second in the by-election, and you but you were in third. You were in third place. I just want to quote from Tim Shipman this morning talking about your performance. He says, in spite of acting as a cap on the Conservative vote, Reform also failed to achieve the kind of breakthrough which characterised the UKIP surge against David Cameron's Conservatives. The Tories suffered a 26% swing against them in Blackpool South and only narrowly beat Reform into third place. But Reform's 17% there was widely seen as an underperformance too. This makes a reverse taker of the Tories more attractive than trying to get a rump of Conservative MPs to defect to Reform. That is where you are. You're not going anywhere very fast.
Honestly, you're completely wrong. All of you in the media have been saying that we couldn't achieve in elections our vote share. And yet the moment we actually exceed our national polling in the vote share in Blackpool, you say we're not doing very well. The reality is completely the opposite.
Well, just like to point out that a vote share in a by-election is not a national vote share.
If you're going to ask me questions, have the courtesy to let me answer.
Yeah, but if you're going to answer questions, let's just stick to the facts. And a vote share in a by-election is not a national vote share, is it?
The fact is, we got our highest ever performance in a by-election, exceeding our national polling average by a number of points. Right? So that deals with that criticism. We almost beat the Tories. We've got our first GLA member, Assembly member. We're delighted by that. We stopped Andy Street from winning in the West Midlands. We're delighted by that. In the North, for example, in Sunderland, we beat the Tories in 16 out of 25.
I'm sorry. This is nonsense. You did not stop Andy Street from winning in the West Midlands by-election. That's literally what the Tory
MPs are all saying.
Yeah, well...
I suppose, Richard Tice, the question here, and, we can argue over national vote share or whatever, but you had the perfect conditions, if you like, in Blackpool South. You had a disgraced Tory MP. You had a lot of noise around Reform going into that by-election. You put a lot of resource into that seat. And even despite all of that, and where, there is an argument to say that people are not massively enthused about Labour. They did okay, but they didn't do as well as they did in the last local elections on balance. You still couldn't get into second place. Is that a sign that actually in the general election, things may not pan out the way you're thinking they will?
Well, this is a journey, and we're delighted with our progress on the journey. We went from 0 in 5 weeks to essentially almost pipping the Tories into second place. That sort of vote share took UKIP 20 years to get that in a by-election. It's taken us 3. So we're delighted with our progress. In the north, we're making great strides. And as I say, in Barnsley and places like Sunderland, we're now outperforming the Tories in ward after ward after ward where we stand. So as part of the journey, we're delighted with progress. The focus is on the general. We're standing everywhere, and we're going to have a serious impact.
I was going to ask you that. Do you have candidates lined up for every single seat in the general election?
We've got about 430 or 40 allocated. We've got about another 350 rising all the time, applying to fill about. So yes, we will have more than enough candidates to ensure that we stand everywhere. That's been our focus, and we will achieve that. The other great thing is that traditional Tory donors are picking up the phone and starting to donate. There is a huge shift going on in British politics. And the truth is that whilst lots of people are trying to claim we're underperforming, the reality is the Tories are absolutely terrified of the progress of reform, and deservedly so, because the reality is they've broken the country. Nothing works. We've got the highest taxes for 70 years. We've got the longest waiting list, the highest national debt. And, they can't have that sort of arrogant entitlement to think they deserve another go, given how badly they've performed.
Yeah, but people don't seem to be rushing to you as an alternative. I wonder, on the question of Nigel, on the question of Nigel Farage,
why are they so terrified? And why are they blaming us for losing in the West Midlands and elsewhere? If you don't think that they're concerned about it, I mean, you can't have it both ways.
Well, no, but the point is that the Conservative Party, we would acknowledge you're having an impact on the Conservative Party. They may be worried if they're Conservatives about it, but both of you appear to be gurgling down the plug hole compared to the Labour Party, or indeed the gains which the Greens and the Liberal Democrats have made.
Well, we're polling nationally above both of those two parties. Yes, they focus on the locals. We're focusing on the general. And what Blackpool shows actually is that we're now performing above that. So we're delighted with progress. If you and others want to underestimate us, that's fine. We'll just keep on working hard, and
it's not just me. I mean, we've got The Economist magazine saying you're a ghost party. But Nigel Farage, we know, is a reality.
He's now going to regret that, having achieved what we've achieved. We've got a GLA Assembly member. We've achieved well above our polling average in Blackpool.
But compared to the parties you're inheriting from, you're inheriting from the UKIP and from the Brexit parties, and you're actually going backwards in those terms. I mean, those are the results.
Adam, if you go up in percentages, that's going forwards. I don't quite. Maybe you didn't get.
No, I was saying in comparison to the parties which you've descended from, which are Brexit and which are UKIP, you're actually going backwards.
Absolute nonsense. There's a third of the country that's still not heard of us, and yet we're doing so well. UKIP's a completely different brand. Right. It's got nothing to do with us, and it took 20 years for them to achieve this in a by-election. We're achieving it in just 2 to 3 years. So actually, we're making great strides, great progress. And look,
I seem to remember that the leader of your party was the leader of UKIP, which most people would conclude is a bit of a connection. But anyway, let's talk about Nigel Farage.
Adam, the leader of my party is me.
Right. Well, the owner of your party is Nigel Farage. Would you like Nigel Farage to stand as a candidate in this general election you're focusing on?
Sorry, I missed the question. I was trying to correct you on your previous wrong answer.
Well, he's the largest shareholder. Nigel Farage is the largest shareholder in your party. Would you like him to stand as a candidate in the upcoming general election, stand as a reform candidate?
I've said very openly, the more help Nigel can give, the better. And he's got a big decision to make. Obviously, the clock is ticking, but it looks like after this week that the odds on a summer election are receding. And look, Nigel, when he's able to make and ready to make a decision as to what he wants to do, he'll make it. And the more help he can give us, the better.
Is there any truth? I think you'd probably count yourself as a friend of Nigel Farage.
Very much so.
Is there any truth in the report from Tim Shipman in the Sunday Times today that Nigel Farage has told friends that he has been in touch with Boris Johnson in recent weeks, talking about joining forces to realign the right? Is there any truth in that?
The honest answer is I don't know, but I very much doubt it. If you look at what Boris stands for politically and what we stand for, actually, they're quite a long way apart. Boris is for raising taxes. He's for higher government spending. He's obsessed with net zero. That's the opposite of what we're trying to do. We're trying to create growth in this country by reducing taxes, reducing wasteful spending. And look, we all care about the environment, but net zero is killing British jobs. It's killing the British economy. It's killing British communities. It's the wrong thing to be doing to grow our economy and to look after the ordinary working families across the UK.